Awesome. So I had you here because of your Ironman, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into that, like, how do you even, how do you get to, how do you progress to Ironman? Because
It's
I remember having crazy thought once upon a time, like, that's impossible.
oh,
Yeah.
so I played basketball in high school and college. I'm originally from Canada, from New Brunswick, and then I ended up practicing in San Antonio, and played a lot of basketball down there. Actually, the place we played, the UT players played, San Antonio Spurs. It was like, so I got to play a lot of basketball.
Right.
And then we moved up here with the kids and everything, and then it was there was nothing. Like I said, I joined a couple of basketball leagues, but it really wasn't anything I was kind of interested in. Like, so I got to do something to
Right.
get in shape, or and I hated to run. I mean, preseason for basketball, we had to do a 5K in college, and I hated it. I did not want to run at all.
I know the feeling.
It just sucked.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. And so we ended up, a friend of mine was doing, going to Portland and doing a half marathon. I was like, all right, I'll head down with you.
Right.
And so we're waiting, and he's going to do a thing. And I'm like, and they said that they had some openings if anybody, because some people couldn't make it, and said, if anybody, I said, what the hell? Didn't train, didn't do anything for it. I'm like, if I had to walk it, no big deal. And so, started to run it, and actually ended up doing fairly okay with it. Even I didn't stop. I ran the whole thing. Like, that was kind of interesting. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try another one. So I did another one in Portland, and then later on it was like, another half. And I was like, I wonder if I could do a marathon. Nah, that's way out there. No way I could do a marathon. And so then another friend of mine, he was going to do it. So we said, okay, I did the Portland Marathon. And then I did, so to qualify for Boston, when I did it, I needed a 3:14 and 59 seconds, so basically a 3:15. And when I ran, I got a 3:19 the first time. I'm like, huh.
That's motoring.
I wonder
That's
if
a good pace.
I didn't know I even had it. So I started kind of getting into it. And I'm like, I wonder if I could.
Were you even training for the distance, or you just getting off the couch and running?
Well, for the full, I did train.
Right,
Absolutely.
right, okay.
I got I think I looked up Hal Higdon. I kind of followed some thing there.
Right.
And so then, it was 3:19. Like, holy crap, I wonder if I could do it. And so I ran a couple other ones. I did MDI and did Portland again, and just 3:19. I got a 3:16. I just never could make Boston. And so a friend of mine told me about the Sub 5 group that's in Bangor.
Right.
And I said, well, I can't run as a Sub 5. It used to be that, but no, just go there. And there was a guy named Peter Lodge, who's really cool. He ended up, he kind of sees how you run and sets up a track. I didn't know anything about track. I didn't even know anything about,
Right.
at all, how to do any of that kind of stuff. So he set me up and just had us, looked at how we could do and timing wise. And so I started doing more track. Every Wednesday we met over in Brewer and we'd run on the track. And then, so I'd end up doing Portland again. And and then it made a huge difference. I got 3:08. That was like, went from, that track work did everything.
Wow.
So I got to qualify for Boston and ran Boston, which was a complete blast.
I bet.
And then, but that year I also ended up getting going. I didn't know as Boston was going to be. I already had New York set up, so I ran New York in the fall, and then Boston in the spring, and then I ended up doing MDI in the fall after that. And so then my goal was kind of like, okay, I wonder if I could do break 3. You know how it is. You just
Right. Yeah.
I started off with nothing. Now, okay, I wonder if I could do a little better. Unfortunately, I never did. I mean, my best was MDI. I think I got a 3:03 but I never could break it. But anyway, it was like, but it was
Right.
So then
I gotta say that's really impressive to me. I've barely broken 4, so I mean that's motoring.
Some of these, I mean, like you said, as you know, whatever you do, there's always somebody that's gonna do better. Right,
Right.
But then, like you said, so I kept running, and then I just kind of got a little bit bored of it. I wanted something different, and I knew there's a group of people that had bike, and so they told me, why don't you buy a bike, come biking with us. So I ended up getting a bike. Like I said, no clue what I was doing. Went right from clipping in, and when you clip it the first time, and I went to the stop sign, didn't realize how to get out, and all of a sudden fall over. So I ended up biking a lot, and I really liked it. And then couple friends of mine, I don't know, Tracy Hughes and I don't know if Andy Dixon, if you know any of both of them. Well, Tracy Hughes husband Lynn had done a whole bunch of Ironmans. He did Kona. He did. I mean, he was really 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 good. And actually, Tracy Hughes ended up doing an Ironman pregnant, a full Ironman. And Andy Dixon done like 7 or 8 of them. So they kind of told me about the Ironman, how they used to do it. And I'm like, I can't swim. I just didn't know how to swim at all. And so I said, you know what, maybe I don't know where you are, but sometimes like it's the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm terrible at it. I sink. I don't know how to swim. So, but you know what? So the Y had the sprint try at on
Brewer Lake, right?
Brewer Lake, yeah. So I said, well, maybe I'll just try it. I mean, I like biking, I like running. I'm just terrible at swimming, and so I went to the Y, and like I said, I couldn't even swim a lap, and so I took lessons from, and it still wasn't pretty, but so I ended up doing the sprint one, and like I said, the run and bike were fine, the swim was terrible, and then I don't know. Then after that, I thought, you know what? Then I heard something about Timberman. Remember Timberman when it used to be in New Hampshire? Like
no.
So Timberman's a half Ironman.
Okay.
And it's in New Hampshire. And so after I got the sprint one done, it's crazy. I'm still a terrible swimmer, but I'm going to sign up for it. I'm going to do it, and just do it, and just trained on that, and then I didn't realize that year was the World Championships. So I got there, and there's like 5,000 people doing this. You got the best in the world doing it, and it was just kind of cool, because that's what I like about these marathons and Ironmans, all these endurance ones. You get to race against the world's best, and you're in the race with them. You don't see that.
Right.
I don't go to the NBA and get to play against an NBA star.
Right.
So it was kind of cool. So I did that one, and I ended up doing okay. Again, swim's always been my hardest part, and so then I started doing more. I did 3 more halves after that. I did, and then right when I was going to turn 50, I said, you know what? I'm going to do an Ironman. I got to do an Ironman. I just have to. It's one of those weird things. I got to do it.
Right.
So I signed up for it, started training for it, and then COVID hit, and they canceled it. And I signed up for Mount Tremblant in Quebec, and so then they canceled that one, and so I kept. Luckily, I canceled like 4 months before, so I wasn't training right to it.
Right.
So the next year they said they were going to have it. So I did train, and they were, everything was opening up, but then unfortunately Canada did not. So a month before the race, they canceled it, and there was no other ones I could get into. Everything was kind of full. So, yeah, I missed that one too. So I kind of kept training, and ended up doing one this year.
Right.
Yeah, and I tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever did. But holy cow!
I want to get into all that in a minute.
Yeah.
So what was kind of like your training regimen like?
I'm kind of terrible at it. I look online or get something sort of that's an actual, this is what you should do every single day, and I'm good at it. I even wrote down on my calendar and everything. First week you might as well throw out the window. Because I wake up and decide what I'm going to do.
I'm the same way.
Are you? Like
absolutely.
Today I just feel like running, so I'm going to run.
Especially with triathlon.
Yeah.
Because you can do either sport or any of the 3 sports, and I'm a little burnt out from running, a little tired. I can go to the bike. That's what
absolutely. I liked about it, and just like you said, yeah. So I just I felt I did make sure I did long things on the weekend, but and unfortunately, like I said, we're working too, so it's like.
Right.
I have a practice in Newport and I practice in Waterville, so I'm driving a lot too, and try to find the time, and so I usually do. So I worked out in the mornings. I'd get up early. I'd either do like a swim or bike in the mornings, and then at lunchtime I'd do my run. And by the time I get home at nighttime, I'm just done with it.
Right.
I'll usually stretch at nighttime.
Right.
That's one thing I never did, which this past 4 or 5 years I really have gotten into.
I've discovered it too in the last year.
I've never done it before.
Yep, same thing.
And I started having hamstring issues and Achilles issues and everything, and stretching was.
Yeah, my son, the physical therapist, he's always, I'll be like, hey, Jeff, I got this going on. He'll tell me the stretch to do. And I have another issue, so he'll tell me the stretch to do for that. And eventually I was like, maybe I should just stretch ahead of time. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, you should. It's terrible because, I hate to say, because I think, in the mornings I got a certain time. I got an hour and a half to work out. And
yep.
I do it. I don't add stretching into that time.
Right.
And so I try. I don't do it every day, but I try to get some stretching in.
Yep.
whether it be yoga or deep stretch or something, and
Right.
it's made a big difference, especially getting older.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next part I want to talk about, so the logistics of going to Canada with all your gear. I mean, just I've done the Ironmans I've done have been on my own from my parents' camp to here.
Crazy.
You know, so but the logistics. I know every spot. I know everything.
Well, it's funny.
Talk to me about what
You're
you've
funny
done
you
with.
say that, because you know, I had my list. I did everything, and I'm scatterbrained when it comes to stuff. Like if I got too much to do, I'm gonna mess something up. So I actually have a tri bag where I put everything in there, and so I got everything the night before, all set up, and put everything in the. Luckily, I wasn't flying. I mean, everything got in the car. I could drive my bike on there, everything, and but when I was closing my tri bag, where I put the wetsuit in, the zipper broke. I'm like, oh crap. So, well, you know what? I'm not going to really need the tri bag anyway for a full, because they give you, you know, a run bag, a bike bag. So I took my suitcase. I said, you know, I'm going to throw it all in there, and it wasn't. So I got to Quebec the night before, getting everything out and
How
putting.
long of a drive is that?
It's about, well, it should only be about 5 hours, but it takes about 7. Montreal is just, it takes a lot to get through Montreal. But I take everything out, and I'm like, oh crap, my helmet. I forgot my helmet.
Really?
I know. It was in my bag, because in my tri bag there's a place to put the helmet. When I put everything out, I didn't even. And so so I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do now? So the next day we drove all over the place trying to find something that was open to get. And one place, look, the only thing I was gonna have was this little kid's bumblebee helmet. I thought I was gonna have to wear, but we found a store. Anyway, I did get a helmet. But yeah, so you're right, the logistics of it, because there's so much. You got your swimming, your biking, your running, your nutrition, you know, everything, and some people are really good at it. I am not. So, but that was the only hiccup. Everything else kind of worked out pretty good.
And then you get there, and tell me about the race atmosphere. I've done the only Ironman official event I did was Old Orchard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They moved it to Augusta. I did Augusta this year. It was
Right,
the
right.
half one was Augusta.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with the Ironman's whole setup.
They really do. Like so,
Yeah.
So it was different than in a half Ironman. Half Ironman, Saturday you can do all your stuff, and Sunday's a race. Friday they make you get to pick up your packet, and the atmosphere. They had a stage. They have music cranked. They're showing different past triathlons. And they really get you pumped. There's people all over the place. And of course, there's 4,000. Well, usually there's about 2,500 people doing this race, but this year it was really. They didn't have as many racers, I think, this year. They only had like 1,000, and they ended up having 1,200 volunteers. We had more volunteers than we had actually racers this year, which is kind of interesting. But it was really cool, and they had it all set up. Like you had to set up the time you picked up your packet. It was you pick up within like 5 minutes, you get your stuff and you're out of there. It was so well organized. I couldn't believe how well organized it was. Even during the race, everything was just completely a well organized machine. It wasn't their first rodeo. They did a really, really good job, and the volunteers just unbelievable. I mean, when people are hurting or whatever, I mean, they really helped you. They really kind of, come on, let's go. You can do this. You know, it was a really, really, really nice course. It's Mount Tremblant's a mountain, you know, so the bike was hard. I mean, the bike was probably the toughest.
Well, let's skip ahead on me.
All right.
So, are you a carb load kind of guy? Like night before kind of routine stuff?
None. I don't have a routine at all. So I do try to do something pasta wise. So I did. We end up renting a Airbnb. So we got some pasta and just made some spaghetti the night before. But
and then that morning, I mean, that's
morning,
one,
yeah.
Even just like getting up, whatever I'm gonna eat, and then getting to the course, like that whole. I love that vibe, the electricity in the morning where everybody's setting up their bikes and
it's so cool. Everyone's all like, yeah. I mean, I have a pretty well. I do before every race. I usually have a bagel, yogurt, and a banana, and then have some sort of electrolyte drink. But yeah, when we went there, it was really where you had to put your bike was a mile away, so you had to where your bike is, you had to get everything all set up, and then you had to walk a mile to where the lake was. But they had this giant screen, flat screen TV showing previous swims, and they had the music going. Everyone just, you feel the nervous tension between everybody, and like I said, I am not a great swimmer, so they had us, have 1,000 people, so they had it lined up depending on when you thought you'd finish, an hour, hour 15 hours. And so I went I was, I think, the third, the last, because I'm going in last. I don't care. Right. And this poor lady behind me, she was get nervous, and she was freaking out. Like she was, I think she was gonna call it, like even before she even started. And this guy, I don't know where he came from, came out, and it was the best thing I'd ever heard. He looked, because if you look down the lake, you see all these buoys, but they never end, it looks like.
Right.
And so he said that it was so cool. He went to her, he's like, yeah, you see that buoy? And she said, yeah. He goes, you're going to swim to that buoy. You see that buoy, the next buoy? You're going to swim to that buoy. And after that, and you're going to go from buoy to buoy. He goes, you're not looking ahead, you're going to go from buoy to buoy to buoy. And he goes, and you're going to finish. And holy cow, did it just like, and it worked for me too. I was listening to, yeah. So it was just nice. And I don't know who he was, came out of nowhere. And like I said, it was great. It was calm, and just you get in there. But it is funny how, like I said, I'm not a great fast swimmer, but when you're in with thousands of people in the water and everybody's getting pushed and bumped around, and you end up going a lot. I mean, that was the fastest swim I've ever had.
Except maybe your Augusta one.
The Augusta one, yeah,
downriver.
that was kind of cheating. That was a kind of cheating. It was literally because you're going to Kennebec, and it was downriver, and I had a wetsuit on. I don't think I even had to move. It would just take you right down. Like
actually, I wanted to ask you that was like a month before Ironman. Was that a good, like, kind of getting in shape, getting ready for it?
That was so. I did my own half Ironman on myself. I went, which was about the coolest thing I've ever done. I went up to Bar Harbor, and the week before I'd had a conference there, so I still had the ticket for the car to park at the Harborside, which is a real nice resort there. And they have a Olympic pool right on the ocean. So what I did is I went over there and I got everything all set up. So I swam in the pool, and literally looking out at the ocean. It's unfreaking believable. And then I had my bike set up, so I hopped on my bike and went up and did the whole loop. I did that twice, so I did a little bit more. So then a half. I think it works out to a little less. It'll be about a little under 50 miles. So I did like the 2 loops, going up Cadillac, and then got back to the hotel, hopped on, put my sneakers on, and did a half.
That's
marathon.
awesome.
And it was it was so cool. That'd be such a great place to do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't even think. Yeah, because you're riding by biking by the ocean, running on the carriage trails. So I did that one a month before, and then I did the Augusta one a month before the actual Ironman, and that was another Ironman, very well organized and cool.
Yeah. So you're buoy to buoy.
Yep.
And no issues. No, I mean, just a smooth.
So like I said,
they tell you to get out of the water fresh. Did you feel fresh, or are you gassed?
Yeah, no, it was interesting because, like I said,
was it wetsuit? Was it wetsuit?
Yeah, wetsuit.
Okay.
Yeah, wetsuit, which is key to me because awesome. I sink, especially my legs. So it's like having a pull buoy, so it helps out a lot.
Right.
I don't know what happened. Like I said, it just I kind of got into a groove, and it worked out really well. Like I said, when I went in, and there were people. There's people, and I was one of them when I did my first sprint. I freaked out. I mean, I'm used to maybe swim by myself, but having all the people in there and thrashing around. I remember the first one, I just went to the side and treaded water till everybody left. But this one, I'd done enough, so I knew it. But I still. So what I do is, as soon as I get in the water, I count 100 strokes. I don't think about anything, just count my 100. So then you get in the groove. Try to get your mind so you're not thinking about getting banged around and people thrashing and. Because you're going to get hit, you're going to get pushed around. But then, like I said, I got in the groove, and I'm not used to passing people, but I started passing people. And then, like I said, I was kind of at the end. Couldn't really believe I was even at the end. Like, so, about $1.30. I was, it was $1.25 by the time I got out of the water, which never had gone that.
Right.
But the one thing I did do that everybody did mention is, because you're going to hop on the bike, you better have your legs ready. And like I said, so the last probably 100, 200 yards, I kind of kicked like crazy to get the legs going. And then, but the one thing that was really interesting I've never experienced before was, because they don't have these in half Ironmans, you just basically go to your bike, but they have these tents, and then when you get off the swim, you run in these tents, and some people, like what I did, I wore my tri-suit underneath my wetsuit, but a lot of people strip down there and just put on a whole bike outfit, and so when you're in there, there's people naked rubbing things you don't even want, but everyone's just getting things together to go and run out there as quick as you can. So they have a women's tent and a men's tent, and you just run in there, and the volunteers are really cool. They've got your bag set up. As soon as you walk in, they see your number, and they're grabbing your bag and then giving you your bike bag. So everything's in there for the bike, ready to go. Boom, and same thing with the run. Gets you in there and gets in there. So it was, yeah, it's kind of like I said, a well organized.
How's sighting work for you? That's one thing that's always like trying to swim in a straight line is such a challenge.
Yeah.
My technique the last time I did one with a large crowd was get on the left side of everybody and just, if the crowd's to my right, I'm probably going in a straight line, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because the way Mont Tremblant is, it's interesting. It's kind of narrow, so you can see both.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is nice. Now, I did Lake Placid. Lake Placid is really cool because Lake Placid, if you can get, they actually have a wire underneath, and so if you can get to where that wire is, you can just spot that. And you never have to move. You can just.
That's really.
But
cool.
people fight over it. But the only thing was really weird about Lake Placid. Again, I did a half Ironman there, but they have scuba divers underneath. And they didn't let you know that. So you're swimming, and you're looking down, and you're seeing these people looking at it. It freaked me out when I first saw it, but I found out afterwards, yeah, they have people underneath us watching and making sure everybody's okay. But if you can get that where that wire is, because it's around, it's a U shape, then you don't have to spot. But you're right, that's the hardest part, because until this year, till this year, I couldn't. When I swim, I couldn't put my head both ways. I could only go to the right.
Right.
So I'd veer always to the left. That was the worst. I could never.
Yeah.
If it was a 1 mile swim, I was going to do 1.5. Because just the way I was like all over the place.
I try to look up, I think like every 10 strokes.
Yep.
Like I'll count 10 and look up and see if I'm going straight. But the last one I did was in Old Orchard, and the waves were ridiculous that day. And you look and the wave is in front of you. You can't see anything, and then you had to try to time it.
Yeah.
It's quite a challenge.
I can't imagine doing an ocean one. I mean, that's got to be.
I mean, you're
a good swimmer.
Pretty good swimmer. Yeah. I know I've run into quite a few people the year I did it, and they're like, "Wow, the water was so bad that year." And I remember my time. I was a little disappointed in my time, but everybody's times, the current was, for whatever reason, was just against us that day.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It didn't bother me that much.
Right.
I've dealt with cramping issues. I don't know if you've had that. Yeah. On the swim, because a lot of times I'm not using my legs a lot,
right.
And then when I go to activate my legs, my calves are like, "Whoa, blood," or whatever it is, and I've cramped up a couple times.
So it's your calves that get you?
My calves right at the end of the swim. So I've been trying to like incorporate some like breaststroke kick every once in a while, and that's been
hey, that's a good idea.
Just every once in a while, that seems to have helped. But
do you get it on the run, or do you get that's
wow?
Yeah.
Mostly, actually, no. It's only there on the
really.
Just at the swim when I'm first like I said, my legs have, I find, especially distance swimming, I'm kicking so little. Like I'm just kind of trying, especially in a wetsuit, because I don't need a lot to float the back end. So you're just kind of just pulling yourself through the water, almost saving my legs. But
yeah, I didn't. That's a friend of mine. I think it was Andy told me that. Say, what you want to do is when you're about 200 or 100 yards, just kick like crazy, get the blood into your legs, because you're gonna be hitting that bike, and you want to. Yeah, so that makes sense, but. Yeah, it does. It does suck when you cramp out.
Yeah, which I know we're going to get to.
Yeah.
So then transition, that go fine?
Yep.
Was it a short run to the transition and stuff?
It was, so when we got out of it was about 200 yards to get to which is not too bad. Yeah. And then you get the tent on the bike. So no, the transition actually wasn't too bad. I think it was a 7 minutes for both of them. But again, I had my suit on, and I went in there. My tri-suit right underneath there. And when I went in there, there was a guy sitting there. He goes, "Get on your back. I'm a stripper."
Yep.
Stripped the thing right off.
Really
and that
cool.
That was so, it saved so much time.
Have you ever done that before?
No.
Yeah, my last one was the first time I did. I was like, well, that really works good.
I know. Well, when he said strippers, I was like, wait, so where are we? Strippers? No, on your back. I'm a stripper. I'm like, oh, I had no clue. But yeah, they grab a hold and rip that thing right off. Oh. But so that saved a lot of time.
Now, are you one of those hardcore jump on your bike with the shoes already attached to the bike? Right.
No, I'd fall right over. I actually put my shoes in my bag, so I had my shoes on and ran to my bike on with my shoes actually on. Right, but yeah, some people just have it clipped right in. They hop in, and I'm not. And again, I bought a tri bike last year, because all my races I've always done on my just regular road bike.
Right.
And so I got a tri bike, and I just couldn't get used to it. It just didn't feel right.
Right.
And so I ended up getting I said, well, maybe I'll try some new wheels. So I got some new wheels, and I kind of said, okay, you know what? You're going to only ride this. So, my practice in Newport, it's about 33 miles away. So, I used to bike there. So I get 6 miles out of our days. So I just took my tri bike and just kept. That's all I'm going to do. And And it's funny how I kind of got used to it after a while. I hated it at first. I just couldn't get used to that.
I love it.
I do now. Now that I'm back on my road bike, I'm like, oh, my back hurts.
My back was bugging me towards the end of my road bike and I switched and just went away.
I couldn't believe it. It was like, yeah.
But now we have some e-bikes, and I ride that for a little while, and then I get back on my bike, and it's like I forgot how to.
Well, that's the thing. I would be nervous as heck on there because you don't have to, when I'm down in the aero position, you're going down some of those hills. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. So bike.
So the bike, that was hard. I mean, it's one of the toughest
pretty
courses.
hilly.
Yeah, it was. I think I looked at my watch at the end. It was 6,900 feet of elevation by the time we were done. There's two giant hills. One. So it's two loops. So there's one long 6 mile hill, but where they really get you is so at the end of the first loop, the last 6.5 miles is just constant hill, and I think the last hill's like 11% grade. So the first loop, you're feeling it, but that second loop when you're really and as soon as I hit that, so it was mile 106 or whatever, 105. All of a sudden you could hear the thunder, boom, and the lightning.
Oh, Tracy mentioned this to me.
Oh crap! And then, so you go up these hills, and you make another turn to go back to the transition area, and then it started to pour, and then it poured, and just poured enough to get everything all wet. And then, like you talk about the bike and the aero bars, there's one large hill before you get to the end, and I was in the aero position. The roads are wet, and
I'm guessing you haven't trained much in rain conditions.
Never did.
I never bike.
I didn't bike. Yeah. And I looked, and I had my Garmin on there. And I'm looking, it's like 41 miles, 43 miles, 47 miles. And I'm like, I just, please, I can't kill myself at the end of the bike here. Are you kidding me? I'm just holding on because you're out in the air. I didn't want to get out to put the brakes on. I just let it go, and you go down this hill and you make this turn, and but anyway, survived it. It was good.
Do you have like a What are you doing do you have water bottles on the bike?
Yeah.
I have one of those, like the ones that sit in between.
Yes.
Which is, you're kind of in the spot and you're just sucking out of it
That's a good idea. I saw people with those. That's a great idea.
Those are nice.
Yeah,
you don't have to reach or grab for anything.
That's smart because I'd lost one of my bottles trying to go back to pick it up, and I dropped it.
Yeah.
But I have one of those, what are they called? Those boxes, little metal boxes on your...
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And I love that because that's where I can put all my nutrition. And again, that was my scariest part. I had no idea how to do that because I think if you're going to do an Ironman, the two biggest things is, you got to be mentally ready because it's tough, but the nutrition and
nutrition's huge.
It's huge. That's the biggest part.
Yeah.
And I did as much research as I could, but...
So what was your plan? Did you have a plan on the bike?
I did. So I said, you know what? I'm terrible at drinking properly. I always get myself dehydrated. I just terrible at it. So I set an alarm. So every 10 minutes I got to take a sip. Yep. And I made myself do that. And so every 20 minutes I took the Morton gels.
Yep.
And then at the 40-minute mark I took they're like gummy bears. Cliff makes them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I take those, and so every 20 minutes I was taking some sort of nutrition.
Yep.
And I thought everything worked out well, and I because then at the end I'll tell you how all that turned out. But yeah.
Yeah, I would normally tape them to my frame, the center of my frame. I'd tape a bunch of gels so like you just grab it, and as you're pulling it off the bike, it rips.
Yes.
And then
take the. That's exactly.
I pretty much I think I had set to every like 5 miles. My watch would beep every 5 miles. Like
perfect.
Probably pretty much the same.
Yeah, just to remember to do it.
Just to take a drink. Whatever. Yeah.
And I learned to take. Because one race I did, I gulped a lot and I ended up having stomach issues. So just sip. I don't take any large.
I'm a big sip fan too. Yeah. Little sips.
Because that's what I was worried about. Being dehydrated, not having enough energy, and having gastro problems. That was the biggest issues I think people I read about doing.
So you get off the bike.
Yep.
How's that transition?
And then that transition went really that was actually quicker. I just literally just threw out the stuff. Of course, as soon as you run in the tent, they got your bag all set for you, which is awesome. So you grab your bag. And again, I just had my trial. I had to take my shoes off, put my sneakers on.
Right.
And by that time it was rain, so I didn't have sunglasses. And I just took right off. I put my number on there, and I was gone.
With it being now, Tracy said it came down pretty hard.
Yeah, it poured.
So you're soaked.
We're soaked.
Did you, chafing wise? Is that
So
I guess you have your tri-suit on.
Yep, but I did in each one of my bags I end up having some Glide.
Right.
So I did before the run. I threw some Glide on there too, because you're right. Because I've done that before. I was chafing. It's the worst feeling in the world. Yeah. And like I said, I hadn't done. I did some bricks, but I never did really long bricks. You know what I mean? I think the most I did after like a training after I did a 107-mile ride, I did like a 5-mile run after. But
I think that's pretty good though, because that's the first couple miles are where it stinks.
Where it stinks,
then you get
exactly.
into the groove.
And this was kind of neat because you ran through town, but then you 6 miles was in a rail trail. So you went 6 miles there and 6 miles back through, and you did that whole loop twice. So so it was kind of cool because you're not on roads or anything. It's just basically this rail trail kind of thing, and
not very hilly, not very.
Well, that's the problem. So yeah, so when you went down the first 6 miles, it was a kind of a gradual. You don't realize it, but it's kind of a gradual. I don't feel too bad. Like I thought I ran the first 12 miles, didn't feel too bad that you ran 4 miles, then you're 6 miles onto this rail trail, and it's gradual decline. It's when you turn around and you realize, holy crap, this is hard. And then, like you said, then I started to cramp. My calves started to really cramp right up, and it was like almost every step you're like, oh, this hurts so badly. And so I tried to every station I drank as much as I could, banana, oranges, anything I could do. And the weird thing is they never try something new on the day of.
Right.
I don't know why, but I went on mile 13 or 14. Somebody said, because they had Gatorade, water, Red Bull, and then one guy said Coca-Cola. I was like, that sounded so good. I never drank that before, and I was like, Coca-Cola. And anyway, I took a drink of that. Oh my God, that was like the best thing ever. I lived on that for the rest of every station I did. I drank Coca-Cola, orange and banana. And then luckily around, like I said, mile 1920, the cramping stopped. Thank God, because I've been doing 4 miles. I walked a lot, and then try to run and walk and try to So that kind of did me in a little. It's just that cramping thing. Do you ever wear any type of compression or whatever?
I have in races.
Does it
help?
Can't.
So I really haven't had cramping issues on the run.
Okay.
So I don't know how. They kind of annoy me more than
I would think.
I think they help. Like,
okay.
They're itchy. To me, after a while, I like to be as free as possible when I'm running. It's a little bit of clothing, a little bit of things I have to carry. Yeah, so.
I saw a lot of people with that, so I was wondering, does that help with I wonder if that would help with the cramping.
I'm sure it's not bad.
I might try it one time, but I don't know. I like you, I don't like a lot of things on me. But
so, what was that like enduring that? I mean, that's
when you're cramping.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go pretty. I mean, did you ever think this isn't worth it? You're like,
no.
Can I go this much? Like, you don't know that it's going to go away.
Right, you don't. Yeah,
and you've still got.
Yeah, we still got another 10 miles left, almost 12 miles left.
And were they coming and going? Or was
and it wasn't just be one leg and then the other one. And then I would try to bend down to try to massage, but that didn't help at all. It was just rock hard. It was like, these things are yeah. So, I'd walk a little bit just to get, and it would kind of calm down, and I'd start to run, and after about half a mile, it would just cramp right up again. And yeah, it was like, oh, this has to end, But I knew I was going to finish when I was 6 miles left on that bike, because even if I wiped out or something happened on that bike, because that's my biggest worry, because that day they had a lot. I mean, I went by so many people that had bike issues. I think because of the rain, a lot of people. One guy I talked to had 4 flats on the bike. I mean, a lot of people had bike issues.
I wonder what would cause.
I don't know why they had so many issues. I mean, stuff on the road, but a lot. I mean, I couldn't believe how and so I was kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, like if my bike goes, I'm done. You know what I mean? So when I was, like I said, about 6 miles ahead, even if the bike goes here, I can pick this thing up and run. You know what I mean? I'm finishing this thing no matter. Even if I have to walk or crawl, I knew I was going to be able to finish it once I almost done that bike. But I was glad it worked out. The bike did last me that part. But yeah, it was really, even afterwards, that was one thing they said, that there was a lot of people thought they might have their tire pressure a little high, because I usually keep mine around 100, but I did hear one of the bike guys before the race, they, put it down to 90 if it's raining.
Wow.
And so I don't know if that helps. I have no idea, but luckily the bike survived. But yeah, so it is funny, and the best part of the whole thing is, like I said, is at the end. It's just because you go through. You have to go up a hill again, but you go right through the Mont Tremblant, through the whole area, the town there, and there's thousands of people, and they're just screaming. And then when you get to the end, they've got the finish. It's the coolest thing ever. They got the big finish line area. They've got it. It's a little dark by then, so the lights are cranking, they got the music cranking, and and then the really cool thing, the guy I was running beside at the end, he's like, you go. And I'm like, what? I realized because he said at the end, if he wants you to get your due. So when you go through, you're an Ironman.
I was gonna.
I thought it was so. I didn't know what he was getting at, but it was so cool. So he actually stopped and waited for 2 minutes so I could go, so he could. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah, because if you 3 or 4 people going at the same time, you don't get that. Right. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I haven't done only the half marathon. I didn't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And I've done my solo ones. I'm like, that's one that's on the bucket list, just to hear that.
Just to hear that. Yeah. It's just to hear that. Now, see, I think mine, the way I did it was a lot easier than the way you did it, because you don't have any support. And to keep, when you're in a race, you've got, I don't know about you, but I get this thing where if somebody passes me, I gotta go, and I just hate it. So, you know what I mean? To keep pushing you, and there's people pushing you because you're trying to get it. But you're doing it by yourself. You got to be a lot more mentally strong to do it the way you did it than the way.
Maybe I don't
think
know.
So.
It's there's pros and cons, I think, to it. I know the bike route. I've done it a bunch of times. And I can kind of stay in my own pace. I mean, if anything, the race is kind of
right.
I'm riding my own race.
Yeah.
Where when you're in a race, you can be pushing yourself too hard because of people passing you and
true.
Stuff like that. So I can just stay in my zone, and I'm not distracted by much.
Yeah, I don't know, but you got to be pretty mentally strong to do something like that.
But
your own.
The run is something else.
I can't imagine.
I did. So I've done 2 of them back-to-back years, and Tracy told me not to tell you this. So
yeah, because yeah.
But I dropped almost 2 full hours my second time I did it, and it was just experience.
Yeah. I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and my run the first time, I fell apart. It was like 6 hours. I mean, it was all stomach distress and just miserable.
Right.
And then the second time I was ready for it. I had a better nutrition plan. It was faster. I ended up being faster on the swim and the bike, and then crushing my run.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I would do differently too. When I finished, I go right to a tent. And at that time, I, went and they give me a beer and they had poutine for you. And probably the worst thing I could ever did, I just started eating. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, I started feeling like I'm going to throw up. Because again, I think all the blood went to my stomach.
Yep.
So I went to one of the porta potties and I threw up. And then all of a sudden, I started getting really dizzy. I said, I can't pass out in this porta potty. So I opened the door and I literally, the bag I had, I put it, I just laid down. I knew I had to lay down because, and this guy walks by and he's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. He goes, no, you don't look good. So they called medical. Medical came over and they checked my blood pressure and it was 90/40. And he's like, you know what? He goes, we're taking you upstairs because they actually had a built hospital right there at the race. And they brought me up and they were going to give me some IV fluids afterwards. But by the time I got from there, and they a golf cart brought me up. I was fine once I got up there, but oh my gosh, it was like that's the biggest thing people had issue with, dehydration. Because at the end they asked, so when I got up to see the nurse, she's like, so when's the last time you urinated? I thought, I hadn't all day.
Oh, you definitely didn't hydrate enough.
Not even once. And I thought I was hydrated enough. I had not all day. And I went through all the way I was going to do. So yeah, so next time I do it, I definitely have to hydrate more.
I was going to ask you this before, and I decided not to, and now I'm going to ask. So it's common that people pee on the bike.
Yeah, I don't know how they do.
Obviously you didn't. And when do you practice that? I've done it. It's hard. I have a hard time with it. But I do know in my reading that you should, about halfway into the bike, you should need to urinate by then if you're taking in enough.
I think what got me, because it was kind of neat because when we swam, it rained already. So when we got on the bike, of course we were soaked, but it was supposed to be 90 degrees that day.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it was overcast. And so but then about an hour and a half into it, the sun came out and it was like 90 degrees and hot. Oh. And it's, for like 2.5 hours till it started to rain. It was really, really hot, and I think I probably should have I should have. I was still doing that every 10 minute sip thing. I should have had more. You know what I mean? I should have had more. But yeah, I definitely do different hydration wise.
And you think that's what happened with the cramping, right?
I think too. Yeah, absolutely. Because once I started, like I said, I was literally sucking down Coca-Cola, Gatorade, oranges out, whatever I could get a hold of to. And like I said, literally by mile 20, all of a sudden it stopped. The cramping stopped. Thank God.
Which is crazy that it just goes away too.
It just went away. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened. Just all of a sudden, I was like, yeah. So that worked out well. But yeah, so.
And I don't know about you, but when I finish these events, I get a massive rush of emotion at the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Talk to me about it.
Oh, same thing going through, especially when you hear your name, when they because
I mean, it's been a 3-year journey, and not including all the other
right
stuff. Just this race alone, it's been almost a 3-year journey.
3-year ordeal tried to get to this point, and just did it. I did. All right, good. But then I get this sickness where I feel good for like a day, and I'm all right. What's next? There's no finish line. It's just.
Yeah, my cousin and I talk about even having a post-race depression almost for a stretch.
Yeah, you do, because like, all right, I did all this, and now I'm down. What's next?
So what is next?
You should kill me to hear this. So I've been online for like a few days now, thinking the only thing I've always wanted to do an ultra marathon. So I've been looking at potentially doing like the 100-mile in Vermont, not this fall, but maybe next fall.
Right.
Try maybe a 50K and go to 100K. I've never done it, but that I don't know why. Like, you think 3 days later, that's what you'd think about, but that's something.
I know the sickness.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's an addiction.
What am I doing? Why am I looking at this? But I definitely would do another Ironman. That was a really.
You should check out the Backyard Ultra that I did.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's the coolest event by far that I've ever been involved with.
Well, until you told me that, that's why I was thinking, that
just you everybody's running at a slow pace. Pace doesn't matter. You just have to finish in an hour, but everybody else is back to the start line every rep. So you're just hanging out with you're just with a different crew every lap. You're getting to know people, and all their you get to do the finish line. I mean, I did the finish line 20 times.
Now, so what about night? Like, did you train for night, or you just?
Yeah, I mean, I run early in the morning.
Right.
Guess,
so yeah.
But I've never. I guess I tried to do one overnight one, and it didn't work out so well. So you just
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're tired, and then the sun comes up, and then you're not if you make it that far. But it's just keep going. It's all mental, but everybody has. I mean, of the 170 racers or whatever it was, we're down to probably 70 or 80 after a marathon.
Yeah.
People all have their own the limits they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
But it's just such a cool atmosphere. I've never, because like a bigger ultra, you're all spread out.
Right. That's true.
You see one person, and then you see another, and
true.
So
where was
together.
it?
New Gloucester.
Oh, it was right in Gloucester.
Yeah, and it's.
Would you do it again?
Oh, I'm doing forever. Honestly, this is
your thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it with you next year.
There's no limit.
I know.
So you just
keep going.
You're just pushing your own limits.
So when you train, I notice you do a lot of running in the pool.
Yeah, that's been a new thing.
Because it's not so much pounding, right? Is that why, or what?
Yeah, I still haven't figured out exactly where it fits in, but yes, definitely no. Like if I get a little knee issue or something bugging me a little bit, I can go in the pool, and it's not irritated.
Yeah.
But I still can get, and it's exhausting in a different kind of way. It's like doing high knees the whole time. It's just such a different. It's the same running motions, but it's more like thighs and.
So last year, the year before, I had a mountain bike accident, wrecked my shoulder, and I couldn't swim, and so that's what I did for 6 months. I was in the pool just running, and I loved it.
I enjoy it.
I didn't feel like sometimes after running the next day, you feel like your body was pounded, I didn't have that feeling the next day.
Right.
Yet I still had the run in.
Yeah, but I was doing some ridiculous miles, so it was. There's definitely points where he'd catch up to me, like, okay, the body's saying no more, but I still wanted to get miles in.
So what was your training like that for that?
I did 3,500 miles in a year, so I do 300 to 400 miles a month.
Okay.
So I'd usually do I do a bigger week, so like 100, 150, somewhere in there miles in a week, I do 4 marathons in a week, and then whatever I could do on the weekends, and then
Wow.
the next week I'd take a lighter week.
Yep.
It'd be more like 50 or 60. And that was
Now, you do mostly pound the pavement, or do you do
I did only pavement.
just pound pavement?
I want to do trails. I like trails.
Yeah.
But there's none really right around.
Yeah,
here,
unfortunately, there's not around here.
Yeah.
Because I do like trail running. I mean,
Yeah. In this course, that's the one thing about this course that I did. It's a brutal trail run.
oh, it is.
I mean, it's got some steep sections. The guy that ended up in second, was doing them backwards down the hills. It was ingenious. I didn't dare to try it.
Well, it's funny you say that because I did last year. I did Mount Washington half Ironman. It wasn't from the Ironman company. It's
Right.
their own one
Right,
they do,
right.
and it was 5 loops. The run was, and it was literally straight down and straight up, and then a quarter-mile loop around there. And the hard part was going downhill, and all of a sudden I started seeing people going backwards. I'm like, what the heck? But it saved their knees, I guess, right?
And my toes probably are what got me out of the
pounding
race.
on that.
And as your legs get more tired, your feet are taking more of the, your form is getting worse, and yeah, my toenails paid the price.
Yeah, they do those.
But the guy going downhill was, there's none of that. It's just such a different motion. You're switching up muscles. It's
It makes
a
sense.
nice change.
Smart. So the next year I'll do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've already been practicing it.
Have you?
Yeah, a little bit.
So what do you do in the mornings? Will you do like how many miles, or do you do two a day runs?
Usually, I'll do a morning and like a lunch run.
See, that's
Yeah.
that's what I think. So I didn't have any injuries training this time, and I split things up. Like for my bike,
That's smart.
I would do like 33 miles to the office to 3. So I was still getting the 6 miles bike in, but I was getting 2.
Right.
And then same thing with the run. I do maybe one in the morning and one at lunchtime or a bike. Yeah. So splitting that up, I think, saved my body.
I did one bike ride the year, my Ironman year. I did a bike ride to Portland from here.
Oh yeah.
Which was a really cool. That was just a fun. Actually, to Scarborough. It was a fun. The thing I love about the bike is just where you can get to.
Oh,
What you can explore, where it just opens things up in such a different way.
it's so fun. So Tracy and I, we just did a century ride last weekend over. It was the Lighthouse ride. So we started in community college in Portland, and we did the 9 lighthouses. So we went up through Kennebunkport and Biddeford and Old Orchard, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was like I said, you're getting somewhere going fast, but the scenery was unbelievable. We had about, I think, 2,000 riders. It was really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. That was fun.
It's cool to get to know people.
Yeah, exactly. Good way to do it, right?
And I got to say to you, I mean, you're a 1%er now. I mean, like less than what I mean.
Right.
Like,
Not many people want to do it.
Right. But it's still it's such an impressive thing. I mean, every time I go into triathlete sports and they have like the races on and stuff like that, it's like I'll have a moment where I'm like, that's so impossible. It's like, whoa, wait, I did that.
I know. but don't you find, unfortunately, the thing I was like, if I could do that,
Absolutely. I've been contemplating a double Ironman.
Yeah.
And because I don't know if you know who David Goggins is.
Oh yeah, do I ever? That's who I follow.
Yeah, he did a double Ironman in Kona. Right, it's the day or two before the actual big Kona race.
Yep.
And I was like, what?
That blows my. I know. I saw that. That's crazy.
And I tried to figure it out. I mean, Dee isn't so happy on that idea. Just the logistics of it. I'd have to start to swim because I couldn't be biking at night. I don't think.
Yeah, that would be tough.
So I'd have to start to swim pretty early. I pretty much need full daylight just to bike it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then swim in the dark, and run in the dark. That's a lot.
That's insane. Yeah. Just when you think, I don't know if you ever saw the documentary on Netflix, The Iron Cowboy. He did.
Yes. He's upped it too.
What he did 90, right?
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 90 Ironmans in 90 days, and he did 50 in 50 states in 50 days. I mean, just when you think.
It's crazy what our bodies can do.
Well, you follow Dave Goggins, and I mean, we only use 40%. When our body says that we're our mind says we're done.
Yeah.
Our body's saying you're only at 40%. You still got 60% you could use that you don't even know. To unleash that ability to do that. These endurance sports are 99% mental. They really are.
It really is. There was, for me on this last race I did, I had to tell it was kind of my plan going in. It worked really well. It was just like I would have moments where I'd start panicking, like you could feel it building, and I'd be like, "You're okay, Ben.
Yep.
You're okay." And I do like literally like a mental check through. Okay, my legs aren't that. My arms. I'm all right with how I feel.
Yep.
I'm okay. And
calm yourself down.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have that power.
I have had to, and I do that with the swim. Like I said, otherwise I can, if I get in my head, I can really. I've had, the only time I had panic attacks was swimming, because I just. Okay. But then, like I said, okay, you're okay, everything's good. Talk yourself through it. You're breathe. Let's do 100 breaths. We're just going to do 100. Let's get a count. And then get yourself back into the game. And all right. Now get in a groove and okay. So.
Well, whatever your next thing is, I definitely want to do this again. I love.
Yeah, this is cool. This is really cool. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me come over.
You.
That was great. Perfect.